Welcome back, one and all, to Pod Stance, the Punk Stance podcast. It is me once again introducing you to the third episode of Release Ramble. I'm surprised I made it to 3 episodes, to be honest. It's so good to hear opinions from bands and people that I genuinely respect, people that make music rather than myself, who just like talks about music and somehow people like my opinion. I have never understood this. I'm quite lively today. I'm actually sat on my bed. Normally I'd be at my desk or downstairs, but I'm actually sat on my bed holding the microphone rather than it being on a stand. I thought I'd go a bit more eccentric today, a bit more outlandish, and I think I'll only do it this once, but the excitement is real, right, for this one, because I got the chance to chat to, you might have seen it on my story already, I think it was episode number 39 of my lunchtime listens, which half of them aren't even at lunch anymore. I don't know why I call it that, but I got the absolute pleasure of speaking to Described as Enemies. Their main raconteur, I don't know what that means, their main guy... Jake, seriously down to earth, great dude, super chilled out, and just a really nice guy to chat to. He was sort of the representative for the band. They're a recent, very very recent Kent-based band, sort of alternative rock, modern rock, bit of pop punk in there, bit of everything that you know and love. And I actually found them through another band who are hoping to be on the podcast as well. I've talked extensively about my love for the Young Hearts, who are also based in Kent, exactly the same town as well. And I've always loved those guys. I loved their debut album, their latest album, Somewhere Through the Night, came out in December, I think, if I'm correct. They're currently on tour doing that, so thank you guys. Well done, guys. It's going great. I've seen a few pictures, and it sounds like it's going really well, so congratulations to that. Absolutely deserved. Huge celebration on that one. But obviously Described as Enemies have been inspired and are very very good friends with the Young Hearts, purely because of their location. Very similar kind of vibes in terms of the music, and to be honest, their two releases and their upcoming release, I can't spoil too much because I want you to listen to the episode, but they've got a few bits coming out that they're very excited about, that and this is actually an exclusive podcast, I'll tell you now. They've released some information on this podcast, and this podcast alone, that it's nowhere else. So that was a very defining moment for me, having like a sort of, I don't know, it just feels really weird and very prestigious in a way. I feel like it's knowing that bands are able to talk about their music and what they love, but are able to sort of confide in me and release information that is not open to the general band, and not the general band, the general audience. It's just really nice to hear, and it just shows that doing this is it's the very reason why I do this, so bands can share what they know and love. But yeah, Described as Enemies, they've had I Feel Alive and Leap of Faith both come out. They specifically talked about I Feel Alive as well as some upcoming stuff. But yeah, the Release Ramble in terms of this, I guess, is for their single I Feel Alive that came out, if I remember correctly. It came out on the 2nd of February, so it's a very, very recent single. Their original song, Leap of Faith, came out on the 1st of January. It was one of the first songs I covered on this new year. I think my first singled out of the year as well. So yeah, I've had a decent connection with these guys. The chat was brilliant. I'm so happy with it. And obviously thank you, Jake, and the band for being on, and I wish you all the very best. I'm sure we'll stay in contact through this, but yeah, I hope you enjoyed this one as much as I did, and I'll see you on the other side.
I don't know how Zoom compares to writing a full album, but I imagine they're both fairly taxing.
Oh, it just sucks. It just
Spoken like a true artist.
Yeah, it just fucking sucks. And I'm trying to figure out my camera working. It's now telling me it's using my phone. I don't want to use my phone. I want to use my laptop. Hang on.
Oh God.
Can't hear a fucking word. I've literally realised as well that I don't actually own a set of headphones. I've just got my in-ear monitors, which I use for the band, and that's all I've got.
I mean, if they work, if it ain't broke.
Yeah, they do well. They work. They're just not very good. But there we go. I'm in. Wired in. How's it going, man?
I'm very well. Yeah. How are you?
Good, mate. All good.
I understand this is a bit sort of quick in the books, considering we were going to do a live in-person one. But what was the change for? Did you suddenly realise we have a second single out? We should probably talk about it.
Yeah, So the boys were just a bit like, well, we haven't really done much for I Feel Alive, and I was like, yeah, I feel that. And they were like, well, we need to do something. I was like, oh, okay. And then they were coming up with all these weird and wonderful ideas, and I was like, no, I don't fancy any of that shit. So yeah, we were like, well, look, we'll still do the in-person one for the EP. I think it's definitely a thing, but I just thought, as we've got this one, this one sort of floating about, we need to try and promote it. we'd sort of had an initial plan for the EP and the singles and stuff, and we've changed it slightly. So like we were going to release another single from the EP. We're 99% sure now we're not going to, and we're just going to release the EP. So it was like if we were going to do another single, it would have been all right to fill some time, if that makes sense. So like,
yeah.
But like we've got some other stuff to fill the void, but we just decided, that we need to get some shit out there. So hence why we're. What's the rules on swearing, by the way? Because I've got like a foul. Foul mouth.
I couldn't give a shit, mate. I'll just put a warning on the on this one to say explicit.
I've got foul mouth, mate. Foul mouth.
It's fine. I'll get into that vibe as well. Then normally I feel like I have to be quite careful, but you've instigated that, so I'm going to be just as relaxed as you are. I feel a lot better.
Yeah, no, I like my vocabulary is thin, so I fill it out with just terrible words normally.
Well, I guess speaking of vocabulary, then, and just general words, I'm going to take every segue I can.
Let's do it.
Obviously, we have described as enemies.
Now,
a very interesting name, a good name. As an English student myself, using the word describe in any means is giving me haunting nightmares. But I just reminds me of all the essay questions I used to write. But described as enemies, where did this come from? Where does it go? Got an idea?
Well, you've gone straight in with like the most ballsy question there. There's a couple of like. Yeah, I'm guessing this is the vibe. This is what I'm dealing with here. There's no foreplay. I'm just going straight in with it.
No wasting time.
Perfect. There's so the name has some meaning, but it's also the most stupid story. So the name's got some meaning. So the whole sort of premise of the band and the sort of the upcoming record and all of the singles and everything else is very much about is sort of like reflecting on, I guess, sort of previous times and stuff and stuff I've been through, and the boys have all helped out, stuff we've all kind of been through, and that all kind of leads to, we all have individual reasons and very different reasons for the fact that we pretty much are, like, I guess, have been at some point in our life described as an enemy by somebody to somebody else. So that it all kind of worked really well for that. We come up with a name because essentially before the band was ever a band, I was writing stuff on my own in my bedroom and releasing it under a different name that was DAE, was the thing, the logo. And I basically got horrifically drunk one night in a pub. I was actually with my dad and just was trying to, I was talking to my dad about how I'd been out of the music scene for a really long time, probably almost 10 years without actually being in a band, or about 9 years without being in a band. And I was like, I really want to start doing it again. And he's like, you just need to motivate yourself. I was like, I don't know what I can do to motivate myself. So I basically drunkenly spent a fortune on merch with the logo on. And to be like, if I do that, I'm going to have to pursue it because I can't just spend all this money.
Rid of all the merch.
Yeah, literally. So did that, and then obviously nothing come of that because it was stupid, and I'd had about 5 Peronis and just decided that was what the good thing to do was. So then when we sort of talked about making this band, we sort of went, well, we can obviously call ourselves whatever we want, but I've got this stuff, and we sort of spoke about it. So it was about 2 weeks of spitballing just random things into the group chat of what can we come up with? And we came with some really, really good names, to be fair, that weren't described as enemies, probably some better names in fairness. But we sort of all just landed on it because of the fact that the music so far and the sort of general, I guess, story the band is telling with what we're releasing is very much zoned in on that. So we just went, oh, you know what, let's deal with that. And then now we've got to deal with the fact we're all massively dyslexic and stupid. So actually typing it and spelling it right is just pathetic.
It's an incredibly long name, but I think that in turn helps it to be very well remembered.
It's one of them things, man.
So,
you know what I mean?
Just a double-edged.
Deal with it. You know what I mean? We're dealing with it. It's one of them.
I mean, in fairness, you can't get much more of a unique story than that. Getting drunk with your dad and going, you know what? I'm going to buy a ton of merch and then make a band as a result of that merch.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not the story we're going with. I think we're definitely going to go with that. No, it's a really deep and to the point name. But that is the name works, and it's not like we've just picked it out of a hat. It is what we're going with. But that was the origin of it, where it come from. Which, if anyone who knows me will know, that is a very Jake thing to do. It's a really stupid and idiotic thing that then forces your hand in life. So. But yeah, we've done all right out of it. The merch.
I mean, you've got 2 singles already. I mean, do both "I Feel Alive" and your previous one, "Leap of Faith," do they both come into a similar thematic way?
Yeah, so we haven't actually even announced the EP or the record yet, but there's so we got an EP basically. So we had like I said, I was writing for ages on my Todd in my bedroom and just doing nothing with it or doing little bits with it, and then we sort of all met through friends really. Like we live in Kent, so a small town called Deal in Kent, and I'm originally from Birmingham, just outside of Birmingham, small town outside of Birmingham, and I've lived here now for about 9 years, about as long as I've not been in a band, and I sort of fell into this little friendship group through my barber. Actually, he's in a band, Young Hearts, who obviously you know. So yeah. Stu, the bass player, cuts my hair, and he introduced me to the boys. And then there's a lot of musicians in that friend group, and yeah, we got talking and decided we were gonna do that. And then I had about a gazillion demos, and that's not an exaggeration, like just the most outrageous amount of demos that I just sat and been fiddling with, and then decided that going balls deep as a band that has never been a band, going, oh, here's an album, is probably a bit daft, and some of the songs weren't quite as good as the others we thought. So we were like, well, let's just do an EP and take the best and push it. So the EP is kind of there's six full tracks, and then like an intro and an outro on it. So it's 8 tracks technically, but there's 6 actual sort of songs, if you will. They all kind of follow the same storyline, I guess. Really, they're all kind of fit together and tell a story of like, I guess, yeah, like my past and things I've been through and stuff. And they're all like, to be fair, the 2 singles are from very different parts in that story. So which is why they're so sonically different as well. Like I think a lot of people, we've had a lot of feedback from people saying like, well, I've listened to Leap of Faith and that's like quite a dark and fairly heavy and jumpy sort of song. And I've listened to I Feel Alive, it's like pop punky and vibrant and bright and positive. They're just from different parts of the same thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
and like anything, it like roller coasters up and down. But yeah, they are definitely on the same, I don't know, path, wavelength, whatever you're going to call it. But they're from different points in it. And I think when people hear the EP, they'll get it, like the way we've tried to put it together. So it's like very, oh, okay, I get where this is going. People might not, but with that as well, like we've all sort of said the same thing. We're a little bit, we're cacking our pants, let's say, because the EP is like, it's so, like there's not like a solid, here's 6 tracks that all sound exactly the same, and if you like one, you're going to like all 6. It's very like, oh, I like that one. That's shit. That's like, I think like everyone that listens to it's going to be a bit like, oh, what? Yeah. This isn't what it's very up and down, like the whole thing. So yeah, it's a bit of a risk for a first one, but we also kind of looked at it as like it's the first one. So if we fuck up and make mistakes, it's kind of,
yeah. I mean, what have we got to lose?
It's the point of it, man. And mate, we did not in a million years expect the response we got from the first 2. Like it's insane how well they're doing. Is like crazy. Genuinely, we all sort of said if we got 1,000 streams on a song, we'd be buzzing, and we've way surpassed that on both of them. So yeah. It's a bit insane, actually. It's a bit mental. I've got a cold, by the way, so I'm really sorry. I'm all I'm gonna have to keep like wiping my nose and shit because I got a daughter and she basically just brings home every feral disease from her nursery and gives it to me.
No, that's fine.
So yeah.
There's, I mean, like half the people in my work aren't in because they've either sniffling or been already sniffling and decided.
That's it.
Like one of the guys came in on like Tuesday and Wednesday and then just went, you know what, I don't want to come in tomorrow. I feel like shit. I was like, okay, fair enough.
Here's me turning up for things like this still. It's just I'm all for the cause, mate. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you've got to fight for it. Well, I think that's great with the first record though, because you know my dad always said that variety is the spice of life, and you've got to take these chances. And I mean, obviously, I'm inherently a big pop punk fan, as the whole world knows. But I found my first love of music in modern rock with stuff like, I was a huge Mallory Knox fan, and now they're getting back together for
mate, big deal,
Slam Dunk and that kind of thing.
We're all really excited for that. Yeah. Really excited for that. Yeah.
Is that quite a big inspiration for you guys as well? Like that kind of, because obviously my brother did an episode of this on Lower Than Atlantis as well, who are obviously another big one. Like, are they a big influence on you guys as well?
Yeah, I feel like so it's really weird actually. So the band, the boys in the band now, so we're all from fairly varied sort of musical backgrounds, I guess is the way to put it. So Loz, for example, Loz, our bass player, was more than recently than any of us has just been in a band called Seek Harbor, who are still going. They're awesome. They're a really good band. They're from our local town as well. Loz screamed from us. Loz was like they were a dual vocalist band. He was their screamer. And Loz is very into his like sort of hardcore metal, post-hardcore, you know, whatever, all of that sort of scene of it. And my last band, admittedly, it was a long time ago. Like our last show was December 2014, but that was more like a metalcore band. So that was the first ever heavy experience I'd had. Before that, it was all like indie sort of music. James, our guitarist, who's like the newest member, fairly similar to Loz, I think, in the way of what he's come from. He's played a bit of everything, but I think like the heavier stuff is very much on his radar. And then Cav, the drummer, is like a punk drummer through and through, pop punk and punk. Like he's so into his like. He's like Cav's what I describe as a very traditional like pop punk head. Like he loves it. He like Blinker, like everything to him. Travis Barker in general is just like he worships him. He wakes up every morning, looks at a picture of him before he goes to work, and like begs him to just give him the strength for the day. Yeah, we're all very different in that. But for me, I think like a lot of my writing and a lot of the sort of sound of it is, like we're so stuck in the past. Like it's all bands of, I guess, like sort of 2010 sort of era. It's like prime, like all like you said, like Mallory, Lower Than Atlantis, I guess like Broco.
Yeah.
Just that whole era of just music was just where I'm like, oh, I like that. I like writing like that. I like trying to write like that. I mean, I think if I was to sit here and say biggest sort of the best album, not the best album, but like the biggest album that I think influences me even to this day is probably Smart Casual by Kids in Glass Houses. Just the album from start to finish. It's just like a flawless album. Like it's one of them that I remember when it came out and me being like really into my music, but into like loads of different stuff, and just that coming out of me, it was like a light bulb moment. I was like, oh, okay, cool. This is like this is, and it's stupidly well produced. Like the producer Ramesh who did it, like I'm a massive fan of his. Like the whole thing from start to finish, the way it's done, I'm just like, yeah, if I could ever write anything half as good as that, I'd be super chuffed. Like super chuffed.
I mean, you've answered the other half of this this interview.
Should we just end it now? I'll go to the pub.
Because obviously the other part of this is my albums that save my life bit, which I do with other people and say like, what's the album? What's the album?
More.
Yeah, what's the album that influences you the most? And you've gone like, oh, it's this one. It's like, okay, we're 15 minutes in and he's already gone for it.
This will be the shortest podcast ever, mate. I promise
you. We're fine. I've
got, mate, there's loads more. I can think albums that saved my life. I think of some more. There's definitely some more to that. Don't worry.
That punk stance, he sure knows how to milk a podcast dry. He really does. He's very good at it. Well, it seems you have quite a few inspirations. I was saying, 2014, that year, that was the same year that Lower Than Atlantis' self-titled came out. That was Mallory Knox's Asymmetry as well, which is one of my all-time favorite albums.
Mega album.
What a year that was. But obviously you've got a few other bits. Would you say that there's a song in this EP? I don't know if you'll give me the name of it yet, but it's not officially open. I don't. Everyone's so secretive about this stuff, so I have to be careful. But
we have to be careful. But
do you have any songs coming up that is like that you would say is your favorite because of the way it sounds and the influences that you've brought in?
Yeah, definitely.
That's what you could say.
Like, no, there is. No, I don't think we're not. We're very independent. We've like deliberately made this so there's no one else involved other than us. I don't think we're any ties. I might just get shouted at by the boys. I'm always getting shouted at by the boys because I leak the songs before they come out and stuff, and they're always like, "Why have you done that?" And I'm like, I'm bored. There's a track on the EP called Hide and Seek, which is definitely, I think for me, it's my favorite track. It's sonically a little bit different to some of the others. It's really quite grungy. I think a lot of people have said it's not really like the chorus is quite upbeat. The verses are very sort of, I guess grungy, really, and moany, a little bit whiny. But for me, just that song in itself was just it took me ages to write it. Like it was one of them songs where I kept like doing a bit, going away from it and being like, oh, I like that, and then not being able to figure out what was next, and then coming back to it. And I think because of that, you listen to it and it's quite different throughout the song. Like there's sections that are very different to the last, and I think because I took time away every sort of section and come back to it, I think that's why it turned out the way it did. We all hate playing it live because it's just such a nightmare to play. James has said about a million times, the lead guitar riff is constant throughout the whole song. And he's basically just said that he's going to get carpal tunnel if he plays that live. So we're having to figure that out currently. But yeah, no, that's probably my favorite track. I think it's track 4 on the EP. I think I'll have a look in a minute and I'll tell you, but I think it's track 4. But yeah, that's probably my favorite out of the whole thing. I mean, Leap of Faith was similar. Leap of Faith was one that just, I wrote the song and it went through about, I don't know, probably like 10 different changes. Initially there was no synth in it at all. It was all guitar, and it just didn't sound good. And then I just tried and tried. I was like, what are we going to do with this? And then changed the lead guitar to synth, and I was like, oh, okay, this makes sense. This is what this should be. But the chorus for that, the boys will tell you as well, like I couldn't write a chorus like vocally to save my life. I just couldn't. I got the verses were done, chorus wasn't happening. We were at a practice one night and we played it for like the 50th time or something, because we only were practicing like 2 songs at a time. And I just went to the mic and was like, I'm gonna try this, and did it. And I was like, oh, I like that. And then shit myself because I couldn't remember it. But luckily, Loz was filming the practice, so he had it on his phone. I was like, send me that, please. And then the next day, I was like, literally sat here with this mic. I was like, I'm just gonna try and figure out what I did. And then it turned out to be what it is. And yeah, we've done like hella well out of that song. That song's done, that's really helped us out a lot.
Well, as a debut single as well, that's a hell of a jump to make, let alone releasing anything. So
it's yeah, like I say, we really, I mean, I've said it before, I'll keep saying it, we were not expecting what we got, like at all. Like there was no way of knowing how well it was going to do, if that makes sense, because there was obviously we were a band, we were practicing and rehearsing as a 3-piece for quite some time before we announced we were a band, before we did like a whole social media thing. Our friends knew and stuff, and like the boys in Young Hearts knew, and they've been super supportive and really good to us. And we sort of announced it that we were a band, and then a couple of weeks later announced we were doing a single, and then a couple of weeks later released it. And literally our socials, they're not popping at all. Our socials are like a couple of hundred at most, I think, between them. There's nothing really on them. And then we just hammered some like reels and TikToks and all that, which is tragic in itself, because we're all like, I mean, I'm the youngest in the band. The rest of them are all very, very old. They're basically ancient, and they've all got arthritis and dementia. But like, I'm the youngest, obviously. I just want to really reiterate that on this podcast, that I am the youngest.
Just remind them every 5 minutes.
They literally hate me for it. And the thing is, so I'm technically still in my 20s. Yeah, I'm 29. The boys are all in their 30s. August, I'm 30. It's all over. Like, I can't keep on this train. So I'm just milking it for everything I've got until then. But yeah, the boys were like, when we released that song, we've just been super lucky with playlists. Like, we've not paid, and I'll hand on heart say this, we haven't paid for anything. Like, we've not paid for any promotion, any playlists, any like boosted stuff. We've just done it for doing it. And we've been super, super lucky that we managed to get on some really, really good podcasts, some playlists. Some super kind people have put us on their playlists. And because of that, it's just like Spotify, especially, it's just blown off. Like, that song, I mean, I'll look right now to give you the exact figure.
I think I'm on yours as well. I came prepared.
I'm loading it now. So like live now, I think what you'll see, it says, so obviously we get a little behind the scenes thing of it, which is always, so Spotify, any streaming platform's like a day behind. So what it's, 13,950 as of right now.
That's what I've got, yeah.
Which is insane. It's actually on 14.3, which is mad. Like, it's been out, we released that on the 1st of January. And it's done that without any paid anything. We've never played a show as this band. Like, it's just done that. And then same with I Feel Alive, to be fair. Like, that second single, there was a lot of pressure. I felt, the boys didn't. I felt a lot of pressure with that single. I was like, ooh, very different to the first. Like, is it going to do as well? You know, there's always that concern of like, when you've done really well with something without really planning it, you're like, what did we do? How did we do that? Like,
how did we get here?
Yeah, but it's almost like well, that was lucky. How are we getting away with that again? It's kind of the way I'd put it. Like, but that one now, so like, I think it shows like just shot like 2.8 on and that's been out less than a week, so just shy of 3,000 streams now. And the live for that, so when you're an artist on Spotify, you get live updates daily for the first week. It's at 3.5K now. So like, that is, wow. It's mad to think a band from some small seaside tin pot town can release something to the internet, which I think I'm sure the stats are something stupid, like 100,000 songs a day are released on Spotify. I'm sure it's something ridiculous like that. And we've managed to get some form of traction at least, which is nice. Yeah. It's nerve wracking though.
I imagine. And I mean, releasing a song on New Year's Day, first day of the year, was that a ballsy choice, or was that just something, is that just how it fell?
It was an idiotic choice, I think.
I imagine you were a group prior to that, but were you thinking like, I'm just going to go into a new year and have it start it straight up?
Or should we start? We met up we knew each other for a while before, like from like beer mates and stuff. But then we met up in a practice room. I think I can't remember the date, and I really should. It was a couple of months before. It was like at some point in 2023, like latter part of like October time, maybe before that. I don't know. And we just sort of said, right, we're not going to launch the band until 2024. We just sort of said, let's just focus in, sort of learn our craft, like learn each other as well. Because like, when you're playing in a band with other people, you need to kind of figure out each other as well as just the songs and stuff. So we were like, let's figure this all out. And then we sort of got to December and we're really impatient. And we're like, we got these songs, we just need to do something. So we announced that we were a band on the socials, and then it just came about. We're like, we've got these songs, why don't we just do it? And I don't even know why it happened on the first. I'll be honest with you, there's no like strategic. It's not even like we sat there and went right first, because it was like that was we'll just do it on that day. And then even with like the second one, it was like, cool, we'll do that on the 2nd of February, because I just that one I can't. I like the way it looked. So it was 1/1/24 and then 2/2/24. And then the initial plan was to release the EP on the 3rd of March at 3/3/24. But there's certain like algorithm nonsense and release stuff that like certain days are better and all that. So it's not really worked out that way for the EP. It's not going to come out in March actually at all, I don't think, from what we've been talking about. But there's like stuff coming. We've got other stuff planning it. But yeah, there was no like logical, nothing this band does. Like we don't ever sit there and have conversations about like, right, what's the best move? It's more just like, we'll suggest stuff in our group chat and then get sidetracked talking about hot wings normally, hot sauces, things like that. Yeah, it's pathetic. And then things just happen because we forget that we've spoke about it and set things up. And yeah, we basically flunked our way through all of this. We've not actually. There's no professionalism here.
I wouldn't say that. I mean, you say that a little band from a little town in Kent can't get that far, but aren't the Young Hearts playing in London like tonight?
They're literally playing with like a
like Grey Wind.
It was literally. So I had my haircut earlier today with their bass player, he was on half a day today. Stu's like, genuinely, since I've moved down here, he was the first person I met that actually was into my sort of stuff, and it was the weirdest thing. So I started getting my haircut by him, and it wasn't even when I first moved down here, but when I moved down here, and we just started talking, and he's covered in tattoos and stuff, and I was like, oh, he seems like quite a cool dude, like maybe he'll be into the same stuff as us. And you know what it's like when you're a barber chair, it's a bit awkward in it at first. And we just started talking, and then we realised that he actually knows a ton of people from the Midlands that I know and used to tour with and have played in bands with, because he's toured and played in bands and whatever else. And it was one of them weird scenarios where it's like I'm 300 miles away or 250 miles away from home, and this guy that's cutting my hair today randomly in the barbers I decided to walk into that I knew nothing about knows like a load of people from my old friend group, and a load of people that, so we just kind of clicked. And then today I was talking to him when I was having my haircut, and he was talking about the show tonight, and they're doing a weekender, so they're doing a show tonight. I think they're back home tomorrow, and then they're going to, I want to say it's Southampton. He did tell me, I think it's Southampton, somewhere else and somewhere else. I definitely do listen. He'll listen to this as well, and he'll be so mad that I haven't like promoted it right. This won't be out till that tour's over. So yeah, they're doing a weekender, and that's a mega show they're playing tonight. Yeah, huge, like really, really, really good. And they've got they're going on tour in Germany like the end of March. They're doing
I saw that as well. Yeah,
big moves from the boys, yeah, which is awesome. We've been trying for ages, ever since because like I say, we go out quite regularly as like a group of mates for beers down the pub and stuff, and ever since they've known we're a band, they're like, let's do a show. We're like, yeah, we'll sort it. And then we've got some stuff booked, and we just haven't managed to figure it out yet. The two things haven't collided, because like anything with the band, you don't book stuff 5 minutes before. Like it's always miles in advance. Like that's probably the most frustrating thing about being in a band, actually, especially like a new band, because you're so excited to figure out what's happening and how it's all going to go, and then you book something and 6 months later it happens, and it's just really. So we're trying to figure it out with them. There will definitely be at least a show, if not a tour, with us and them, 100%. We'll all be probably massively intoxicated for the whole of it, because we all love a good beer. And we'll probably only play shows in towns where there's a brewery. That's probably what's going to happen. But
I can't argue with anything else.
I don't think it's unreasonable. I don't think that's out of order.
It's so funny though, because I only saw you guys because the Young Hearts Instagram put up a thing on their story saying like, here's a new band from Kent in the local area. And I lived in Kent. That's where I grew up. My parents still live just off Tunbridge Wells, which is
So
I went to school there, and I grew up around there. And back in August, I think it was, I was messaging the guys at the Young Hearts, and they were like, "Oh, by the way, we're playing a pub in Tunbridge Wells."
Yeah, was it the Forum? Was it Forum Basement?
There was the Forum Basement, under Sussex Arms, which is one of my favourite pubs.
Such a good venue as well, isn't it? Like,
great, so cool.
You wouldn't expect it, would you, when you get there? Either it's like a pub, and then there's just this wicked venue there as well.
Right underneath, yeah. And I chatted to them for hours and hours. It was brilliant, and as a result, and it seems like there's such a tight knit community. Not only of you guys in Deal alone, but just the sort of Kent community as well.
Oh, mate, it's weird. So obviously, I've not been part of this sort of southern music scene for very long. Where like I was always like Midlands based, and the Midlands is so thriving. Where there's like it's a big place. There's tons of like big areas where there's just loads of bands, and it's very much like you want to play a show in the Midlands. It's like throw a stone and you'll hit 4 bands, and you'll be like, oh, let's all do it, and you just do it. And people just turn up like a lot of the time, not like masses. I'm not saying you're going to play to hundreds, but like, you know, you could book a venue and 50 people will turn up just for the sake of it, and it's a good enough show. Like, it's all right. Here, it's very like, we are like, you know, obviously you'll know Deal, but like Deal is like about as far south as you can physically go without seeing France. Like, France is closer than Birmingham, which is insane. Every time I say it to people, they're like, no, it's not. I'm like, yeah, no, it actually is. Yeah. But like, they've always, like Stu's always said, and they've always said, like Craig and the boys, whenever I speak to them, are always like, oh, there used to be such a thriving scene down here, and it's just not there anymore. And obviously, I've not really ever experienced it, but ever since we've been like doing our thing and really like announcing it and doing it, they've been super supportive, and they're really on this. Like, there can sometimes be like a really bitchy, childish thing in the music scene. Like, some bands just are so like against other bands thriving. They can be so like, oh, they're doing better than us, and we've been a band longer, and it's just nonsense. Like, we're all just mates, and we should all just have a really good time and help each other up when we can. And they're very much an advocate of like, let's just play some shows and drink some beers and have a good time. And we're all old now. Like, it's not like we're teenagers anymore, and we're doing this because it's fun, and that is ultimately what we need to remember all the time, is that this is meant to be a good laugh. It's not meant to be like a chore and like a massive business thing. Like, obviously you want people to hear it and you want to do well out of it, but it's just meant to be a laugh. And they've always been an advocate for that. And down here, like, they're especially good at it. There's other bands that are really good at it as well. Like I say, we're mates with a lot of bands down here, and I'm sure there will be shows where we play that we'll put 3 or 4 bands on, and it'll just be a mega lineup of like loads of mates, and it'll be a really good time. But for the minute, we've got a couple of things booked that are going to be really fun.
Yeah.
I definitely don't know what I can say about them, because that's not us. I think I'm sure I can say certain stuff. I'm sure there's stuff I can say, but I'm used to getting in trouble at this point. So, and to be fair, I'm drinking gin and tonic, so I'm sure at some point I'm going to loose lips, mate. You'll be asking me in a minute, and I'll be like, oh yeah.
I mean, I'm water in a stormtrooper glass, so I'm going just as eccentric tonight.
There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. This is, I'll be honest with you, this is a little bit out of my comfort zone. The whole like front man bullshit is a little bit not me. Like, Loz is a lot better at this than me. Our bass player Loz, obviously, where he's been a front man for quite some time and in quite a successful band as well, and done some stuff. Whereas our like work patterns don't always meet up. So he's working nights, so he's obviously not about. So he's like, okay, I could do this. Yeah, I'm fine with it. And in my head, I'm just thinking, oh, what would Loz say? What would Loz say? And then I remember Loz would probably say something highly inappropriate, and it wouldn't be that good for us.
Is that why you messaged me before, saying like, oh, what questions are you going to ask?
Yeah, mate, I'm all about preparing. I've like listened to the podcast. I was like, what can I expect here? Because I just don't want to say the wrong thing. You're gonna be like, oh, the rest of the band, like, what's going on with like future tours and all this, and I'm going to sit here and just blurb it all out, and then realize that we're actually contractually obliged not to say anything about certain stuff, and balls it right up.
I'm not that fussed. I mean, I'm quite new to this anyway, so I only just opened this out to actual bands who play music, and it's, I don't know how professional I have to be at times, but
so you're good with us.
So far, so good. It's fine. I've known you for a few months. It's fine.
Yeah, man, you're fine with us. I don't think we're at the stage right. I don't think anyone gives a shit right now about us. I think it's okay. I think we're at the point where like no one's going to be that upset other than the boys in the band, and they'll get over it. So it's fine.
But that's exactly why I do this though, because there are bands who are quite literally just starting up this year in the past month, who are gaining traction in their own right. But I feel like doing something like this allows them to have it's so much more interesting to learn about people's processes when they don't really know what they're doing either.
No, and there's such a void, like a gap in the market for this sort of stuff. Like, the amount of, like, we obviously when you're releasing stuff, you always put it out to like the big platforms. So like introducing, like, we were lucky enough, we got Leap of Faith on BBC Introducing. Like,
I saw that, on your bio.
Yeah, that's great. Like, we put loads of stuff out there to these big, like Kerrang, BBC, all these big sort of platforms. You always hammer them, and the reality of it is, when you're a small band and you just started out, you're not going to get much of that. That's just the fact of it. You have to try. You have to put it out there. And like that sort of rejection, I guess, is kind of part of it, and you just deal with it. So it's awesome to have like a platform that you can come on and just be down to earth and actually be like, look, the socials and stuff and the announcements and all that sort of stuff kind of has to be professional for us to make something of it. But the reality is, we're just 4 absolute idiots that like making music, and we're just normal guys. And the reality of it is, we are probably 4 of the most boring individuals you could ever put in a room together, unless there's a couple of pints involved. for most of us. I say Loz is sober, so Loz is like the most boring. He's not actually. He's actually the most fun, which is annoying. We all have to have beer to be like exciting, and Loz is just constantly exciting without beer. So.
Well, I mean, I imagine you can't be that boring if you're releasing an 8-track album in 2 months or whatever it is. There's got to be some energy to go with that.
There's some stuff happening. yeah. No, I'm saying all this. The boys will listen to this go, we're not boring. Like, we do loads of stuff. They'll all shout me for that. But no, we just want to have fun with it. That is the bottom line of it. Like, we started this, even like from the early discussions of whether this was ever going to be a thing. And the few of us that were involved at the start were just like, there's no point doing this if we're going to try and take it too serious. Let's just have some fun with it. We're literally all dads. Like, all of us have got kids. So it's like, we're all dads. We're all a bit older. Like, we've all got careers. It's like, it's not like we're doing this to try and like, we're all working in the local shop and this is kind of what we're going to do as like to try and make our big thing. This is just a bit of fun that we're having and it's awesome. And if something comes of it, then that's wicked. We're going to really enjoy it and take it for as much as we can. But like the reality is we've all got responsibilities bigger right now that we have to also take into consideration. So we're just having fun with it. And I think, I'll be brutally honest, like I can speak for myself. I don't know about the boys, but for me, like bands I've been in previously, you haven't had that where you took it so serious that it's almost kind of tainted the other stuff. Like you get, something really good and fun comes along and it just isn't good and fun because you're just so focused on like, oh, what about this and what about that? And it's just, it kind of taints the whole thing. Whereas with this, it's like, we're just enjoying it. So like I say, the single's done really well on Spotify and we've been really lucky. Like I say, BBC introducing and there's some stuff coming up that we've been super fortunate to get. And we're just not taking any of it for granted, really. We're just enjoying it. And we don't for 1 minute think that I don't want to say we don't deserve it because that makes it sound really stupid, but like we don't for 1 minute think there's not another band out there that probably deserve it more than us. We know how sort of lucky we are to be doing what we're doing and how grateful we are. And yeah, we're just enjoying it, man. That's the reality.
I mean, I think that's such an easily forgotten part of it, though. And there's a sort of corporate element to every band. All the music scene in itself can be taxing, to say the least.
Yeah, 100%.
You don't want it to
100%.
You don't want to waste away.
Well, it's just one of them things, isn't it? Like your sort of longevity comes from, I think, how much you enjoy it. Because the reality is, the second one of us stops enjoying it, that person's going to stop putting effort in. It's just going to then be a harder work to get through to the next bit, if you know what I mean. Whereas we're quite good with what we do. We sort of divvy out, I don't say jobs, but like everyone's got their little responsibility with the band that they do. So it's not really too much work for any one person, if that makes sense. We just try and make it so it's manageable and we have some fun with it. And every time we meet up, like we rehearse pretty regularly at the moment because like I said, we've got some stuff coming up, so we're rehearsing really regularly. Every time we meet up, it's just a giggle. We don't really take ourselves very seriously. We take what we do seriously, and we want to make a thing of it, but we're just always messing around. And I'm probably definitely the worst in the band for let's call it banter. Let's call it that.
Let's call it that. Yeah.
I mean, it's technically verbal abuse, but we'll call it banter because if we ever do get a HR department, I don't want to be the first one to get called up to it. You know what I
mean? No, banter is of course bullying, as all the school presentations would teach us.
Well, look, I mean, Loz will tell you my favourite saying is that bass isn't an instrument; it's a frequency, and that's what I tell him on regular occasions. And he hates it, but I tell him it every time. I mean, I've just said it on here. He's going to be so annoyed.
Just going to enhance that even further.
Yeah, he's going to be well annoyed. He's going to hate that. I'm sorry, I'm going to blow my nose. I'm sorry. So nursery mates, where they all get it. Just all of them.
Just a little petri dish for every illness imaginable.
Which, like, as a kid, you need, don't you? It's like my daughter needs it to like build her immune system. But the problem is that she gets over it like a day. Like she gets it and she's like, "Oh, I'm sweet." I then, because I'm old as shit, just suffer for like weeks. Yeah. Parenting, woo, so rock and roll.
Joyous. Well, this is what the band is all about. It's a side project from the parenting.
That's, mate, literally dad rock.
Very literal dad rock.
It literally is, mate. We joke about it all the time. Like, we're just a dad rock band.
Well, as for dads who get along very well, I imagine that the creative process for making this latest EP, that must have been a bit of a laugh. But I don't know. Was it as difficult as you thought it would be?
This one's a weird one because this one was demoed pretty much solely by me before there was ever a band. So I demoed these tracks. What the boys have then done really is just sort of come on and they've just enhanced it like madly, like rewritten their parts and done their bit and obviously played their parts. And it's just they've kind of just come along and that song's really good, but we need to do this, or that song's absolutely rubbish, never play us again. Is kind of the response I've got depending on one song. The next one, the next one is going to be even better, because the next one is like the four of us sat together writing and doing stuff. When that next one's coming out, how long away it is, how soon it is, all that is obviously to be confirmed. But the next one's going to be sick. This one's sick. You should listen to both, is what I should say here. I'm trying to promote this. You definitely listen to both, and don't just write the first one off and think the next one's coming soon. You should definitely listen to both.
Listen to Leap of Faith and I Feel Alive. Listen to them both.
Do that, and then follow us on Spotify so you get notifications as to when the next one comes out.
That's a proper social media promotion there.
Oh, professional. I know what I'm doing.
Yeah. Well, how was the process going through, like making it? Were there any sort of standout moments of going through it, or is it just the fact that it's finished being the?
So it's a weird. I think if you ask, it depends who you ask. If you ask me, my opinion of it's probably going to be quite different to the boys. So where I've had these songs for so long, hearing them done is it's a bittersweet thing for me, because it's like I've had these to sort of mess around with them and play at for obviously just so long, that when they're finished, it's like I'm really glad they're finished. Obviously, like I am genuine, and I said to the boys jokingly when we finished the final sort of mix and masters of all the songs, I was like, I never want to hear them again. I've heard them so many times now. But I think the boys obviously have come into it, and we've been a band, like I said, since the latter part of 2023. So for them, it's all still fairly new and fresh and exciting, but I've never got to play the songs. I've like written them and done my bit, but never actually played them with the band. So that part for me is like the most exciting, is like getting in a room and playing them. And obviously we've got shows booked and stuff. So all of that's the big thing for me. But like, I think for the boys, it's just the general hearing them and doing them and writing them and putting their part in them. But yeah, it's been, like I say, it's an odd process. Like I'm not going to hide behind it. This one has been, it's not a normal process for this first EP, just because of the way it was done, because of the structure of the band. We're very much like the next one is we're going to do it the very traditional way of like, right, let's write some demos, probably disappear somewhere for a bit to actually record it, and then go from there. Because this one's all been, I don't know, without sort of sounding weird, but this one is like self-written, self-produced, self-recorded, mixed and mastered ourselves. We've done like all of it from start to finish ourselves between us. So it's like we've kind of had that, I guess, creative control, but it's not always a good thing. Like these songs are as good as we all think they can be, and we're really happy with them. But sometimes having like an impartial third party to come in and go, I'm going to record your album for you, your EP for you, and have their ideas and their input on it, it makes something way better. And it also doesn't take the shine off it for the band, because, like I say, with this, like we've listened to this so many times now where we've been doing it, that it's like we're proud of it and we like it and we're happy with it. But it would be really nice to not have to sit and spend so much time constantly going over the same thing. It'd be awesome to do it and then sort of almost kind of wait eagerly in anticipation to hear it. I say this now, and then the next one we'll do it and I'll be like, I hate this, I don't want to wait, I want to hear it now. And I'll probably be the most impatient, stupid person ever. But like, it's just a weird process. Like a lot of it's been done at mine, to be fair, like where I'm sat now. So currently living in a place that's being renovated. So like my living room is a disgrace. It's the last room that's being done. So like we've pretty much just turned my living room into a studio. I mean, I appreciate you won't see this on the thing, but like right now so that's mine and James's cabs behind me. You've got like there's more amps and other guitars and just everything is just here.
Yeah.
And I'm literally sat at my desk where like my monitors and like everything. So it's all been done, predominantly here for the most part. And it's just it's not the way you'd normally do it, but we've kind of just, I guess it's the best thing we could have done being a new band, because we've learned so much about ourselves as musicians, like what we want and how we want to do it, but also like the band's sound, like we didn't know what we wanted to sound like. So if we'd have gone to a studio and most producers would ask you like, how do you want to sound? What sort of are you going for? And we'd have probably all just sat there and been like, oh, I don't know. We'd have been like the worst band to record ever. So like, I think now we've done this one, we're all very much like, we've got this like rhythm of how we work. And I think like we're all very much in the opinion of, okay, so the next one when we go to a studio or we rent a house or whatever we end up doing to go and do it for a bit, it'll be like we are dead set on how we want it and we just trust somebody else to sort of follow that through, really.
Yeah. For the second record, do you have, because I don't think you'd have a defining style now in terms of your music, but do you have something that you're aiming for? Like, is it that modern rock scene? Is it the sort of punkier side, or is it?
Yeah, so like I said, with the first one, we've kind of put out a record that is very mix-mashed. Like it's various different sounds altogether, and not intentionally, but I guess kind of also because we wanted to be like, where do we fit, if that makes sense? Where does our sound, where does it best project? Like, where do we do our best? Where are we at our best sonically? But also, like, where do people like it? Because the reality of it is, like, we want to have fun with it, and we enjoy writing and recording together and playing songs together. So, you know, if we took a turn that meant that the pop punkier side of us sort of drove better, then we'd probably just go down the route of that and go, we enjoy that, that's cool. But I think the way it's looking is that sort of alternative rock with like the sort of electronic side. So the synth seems to be a big thing for us, like which wasn't ever meant to be honest with you. Like, it wasn't ever really something I consciously went, right, I'll put this in every song and this is going to be our driving force. It was in a couple of songs, but now this EP, even this EP, like especially, like, I don't think there's a song without it. Like, we've pretty much just ended up enhancing all the songs to be like, oh, okay, this actually makes us sound better and really works for what we're trying to do. And we all really like the fact that there's this, I guess, different element to it. It's not just like four dudes with two guitars, a bass, and a drummer, and somebody trying to sing their artist. Like, there's other stuff to it that sort of comes into play. The next one, so without giving out too much, is like the next one is going to be, it's going to sound really cliche and really cheesy, but I would hazard a guess that it's going to be more like the first, but the heavier parts will be heavier, the soft parts will be softer, and it will all just kind of tie in a bit better, I think, is probably the way to say it, which is really cliche. I know every band says it, but I just think it's going to be like an improvement on the first, and it'll definitely follow on from the first. We know that much. Like, the first one is, like I say, we initially had like an album's worth of songs, which we then went, no, let's just do an EP, because we don't want to release songs that we're not happy with and finish. So there's a lot of songs that are pretty much there. The story that we're telling with the first one isn't finished with the first one, if that makes sense. There's definitely more to come of it. So I think we're going to kind of ride that a little bit longer. I think the second one will sort of tie in with the first. And then I think after that, it's then, then at that point, it becomes like fair game to change things and move things along. But I think we've all kind of pretty much set on the fact that the two EPs that we might release, I'm rubbish at hiding stuff, but yeah, the second EP that we might or might not be doing will definitely follow on from the first, and then we will from then evolve as a band and see where it goes and what we do with it.
Well, with that story that you're telling, are there any major, because you mentioned slightly earlier that a lot of the songs are going to be based off like your struggles and some of the struggles of the guys in the band as well. Are there any specific ones, if you're willing to say, that you'd go into detail of, and any that are going to carry on into the second one?
Oh, mate, I can't even hide it. So the second this EP's out, like, it's so blatantly obvious what it's about. So, yeah, I mean, I obviously all in the past. I'm completely fine now.
But we'll preface it that way.
Yeah, 100%. But no, like, so the premise of the EP is essentially like a rehab, like a rehabilitation thing. It's like, it's a very much how I coped with some dark shit, basically. And the thing that we tried to do with it was not to sort of zone in too much on what my struggles were, so what I was going through, but very much make it like a thing of like any form of negative influence in your life or bad thing you've gone through or whatever is like, rehab is rehab, and it's not necessarily just a drug thing or a drink thing. People go to rehabilitation for like sports injuries. Like, it's rehabilitation really is such an open thing where, like, even if like mental health is involved or just negative things in general, like you need some time to come back from it, and you need a vessel, if you will, to get you through it. There needs to be something, whether that be, some people go to therapy, some people go to literally rehab, some people do like fucking go out on a walk every day, like, I mean, they can be whatever it is, but it's very much and you'll know as soon as the record comes out, because the intro and the voice the whole way, you might have noticed, to be fair, if you listen, the Leap of Faith, there's a voice in the song, there's like a digital voice that is like the narrator of the EP, if you will. That's in other songs, right. It's in the intro, it's in the outro, and that kind of ties our story, I guess, together. It's very much, for me, it's quite a selfish record in the respect of, it is me talking about the shit I put myself through, the stuff I put other people through, the sort of general, I guess, ties around that. And then it doesn't, ironically, this EP doesn't really finish on like a positive note. So it doesn't really finish on like, oh, that's cool now. Like, but there's stuff that will come that obviously is from that. But it's just one of them things, like, if you're a creative person, if you've got, it doesn't have to be music. Like, if there's something you do, like, if you're an artist or you write or whatever, sometimes that's the only way that you can I guess, release from that other dark shit. And I think for me, it was just, like I say, it was a lot of this was just me in a bedroom or a living room, my guitar and my laptop, just writing stuff to try and, I guess, put something out there and keep myself busy. And it just ended up without really too much intention, ended up being almost like a like a rehab for me, like this is how I'm going to deal with this, and this has helped me get through this and that and this and that and this and that. And yeah, it's now become like we've almost kind of now latched onto that and gone, actually it works really well story wise doing it like that. So we've just kind of gone, well, fuck it works well. I'm not too proud to sit and go like, no, I'm a perfect person that's never gone through bad stuff or never had, like, who has, you know what I mean? So if you don't talk about these things, I feel like no one ever benefits. And ultimately for me, like, once again, without sounding too selfish, like the record for me has already done it, what it needs to do. Like it's helped me already, if that makes sense. So like if one other person in the world listens to it and goes, oh, actually, I get that. I've been through that. I get that's awesome. That's wicked. That's helped somebody else. But from a selfish point of view, it was just me in a really rough time doing something to distract myself from the rough time. And it's now ended up being what it is. And that's kind of where it's all come from and gone to, if that makes sense.
But it's all transpired in this record.
Yeah, which is a massively positive thing. Like, you know, you got to take the positives out of the negatives, and you sometimes, and like there's loads of negatives I could focus on. But the reality of it is, I've got so many positives that I've just like I'm stupidly grateful for. Like my little girl, I keep talking about my daughter, but like insane that I'm a dad and that I've got this incredible human being that is just like, you know, I'm not just saying it, but my daughter is like, she's phenomenal. Like she's awesome. Like every time I meet, like I see her and I look at her and it's like, just can't actually grasp or fathom how I've managed to be a part of creating something so incredible. And then, you know, the records then come out of it as well. And you look at it and go like, oh, I'm really proud of it. I really like how it sounds. Like I didn't think I'd ever be able to write something so good. I didn't think I'd be in a band with people so talented that could play it and do it as well as they have. And I don't know, like you just have to kind of look at things sometimes and go, yeah, that time in my life was shit, but this now is just such a positive thing that's come from it that there's just no real like, if you don't take the positives from it, it was a waste of time, wasn't it? You just suffered for no reason.
Exactly.
So I mean, it's kind of.
I mean, I'm running through that vibe of like that was me then, this is me now, and 100%. Those are two completely different people.
Oh mate, it's insane. You would never have. Let me tell you now, in my prime of destruction, you would never have got me sat still for this amount of time to be on a podcast. Let me fucking tell you that. It's just like, yeah, it's a very different time, and like I don't know. I think like even just meeting the boys, like. I don't want their heads to get too big, and I regularly take the piss out of all of them. So I don't want them thinking I'm nice, but like just the boys alone, like the selection of people that are in this band, it's like I say, we're all dads. So that's awesome. We all get the fact that we're dads, and that's our main priority in life. But there's just the fact the way they are, like as people as well. Like they've been super supportive of me. Like without even really knowing me that long. Like Loz and Cab, I met probably the start of last year. Really. Like didn't really know him that well. James, I've known. James, a guitarist. We announced James was in the band when we did the Leap of Faith music video a couple of weeks ago. Like James has been in the band probably a month, and like I know him even less. But just as people, they're just all really good dudes. And like James he's one of these like freak. I don't say it's like a freak accident, but like we knew we needed another guitarist, but we weren't going to like push ourselves and rush to get another guitarist and get the wrong one. And then the boys were just like, well, we used to be in a band with this guy called James. Like, he hasn't done stuff for a while. Why don't we speak to him? And it just was like, done. It was just like so easy. Like the second we met him and he come aboard, like he just, yeah. He's probably the only person that is more sarcastic than me, which is hard to do. Like that's seriously hard to do. He... I don't know if you've seen him in the video, but he is essentially like a brick shithouse. So like he's the only person in the band I'm still a little bit scared to take the piss out of because he probably could break me in half with his like index fingers. So like I just haven't got there with him yet, but I will. I'll get there eventually.
Oh, you always do.
Yeah.
Someone like it's just everyone has their threshold.
Oh mate, we'll get there, and he probably will break me in half with his index fingers. He's like a Viking of a man, but nonetheless, it just I don't know. It's weird. Like that's probably the way to describe it. Like the pairing of these people in this band has been odd. Like we're probably people that definitely should never have met. Like I'm from some town in the Midlands and I've ended up here. And my barber, the guy who cut my hair, introduced me to these other people who have ended up being some of my closest friends and just being really good guys. And we've started playing music together and it just has worked. It's just weird. Yeah. Like that's the only way to really describe it. Like it kind of feels like everything that shouldn't have worked has just worked really, really well, which is why we're all just like, let's just ride this for as long as we can and just see what comes of it and just enjoy it. Really.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I see no reason why it should stop, especially if you've had all this good luck come from it.
It's one of them, mate. The second it stops becoming fun, and the second we don't, enjoy it, then we probably will stop. And that, whether people are upset by that or not is kind of, we started this because it was for us, and we'll end it for us. If that makes any sense, like we want people to enjoy it. We want it to be fun. We want everything to come from it. But at the same time, our families and our I guess our well-being will always come first. And I don't think it'll ever get to the point where it'll need to stop because that's taken over, because we're all very solid in our morals and our we all know where we're from and stuff. But yeah, maybe the only reason it would ever stop is that I annoy Kath, the drummer, because I'll be honest with you, he's my victim. I annoy him so much. I don't even think he likes me. I don't genuinely, we're in a band together.
That
I genuinely
bad?
think. I mean, right now, yeah. So I actually put something in the group earlier. Let me get my phone. I put something in the group earlier about that I might ring them while we're on the podcast and get them to say something. Let's see if I can get Cav on the phone right now. This is.
Oh my god.
No, let's try that. How can I need to. I don't need to unplug. Yeah, I need to unplug my headphones. So bear me a sec. Hopefully, this doesn't feedback for you and store.
This is going to be amazing. This is what my life has led to. A guy on my podcast calling other people to be on the podcast.
I guarantee he doesn't answer. He hates me. So let's see if he answers. He'll turn up to practice every now and then, but when he turns up, he's never got trousers on. Oh.
Hello.
Oh, hello, mate.
Hello, mate.
I'll be honest with you, mate. I've just spent the last 10 minutes on this podcast talking about how you won't answer because you don't like me. This is awkward.
Not wrong.
Hang on a minute. Do you want to just look? We're on the Punk Stance podcast right now as a band. Do you want to? If I put you up to the microphone, do you want to just very quickly say hello and a thank you, and then I'll hang up and you can go back to.
Is this even going to work?
Yeah, it'll work. I'm sure it will. Mike, I'm sure is a pierce. I'll do it.
Here we go.
Just say a very quick hello and see if this works.
This is the best nut bone in my life.
Hello.
There you go. Say again.
Hello. How are you all doing?
And then,
I'm doing. This is brilliant. I love this.
Can you hear, Cav? Can you hear?
Yeah, I can just about hear. Yeah. Perfect.
Cav, can you just quickly for the podcast, just because we're obviously talking about all things the band and the future and the singles and stuff. There's a couple of the questions I've been asked about the sort of the processes and the band together and how we all are as mates and in the room together. Will you just briefly put into a few words how you feel about the fact that me and you are mates now and we're in a band together, please?
You don't need me here. You're asking all the great questions.
Here we go. No, you'll like this. Here we go. Go on, Cav.
Right.
Oh yeah, I mean it's. I mean, me and Jake have only sort of known each other a couple of years now.
I don't think it's that long. Yeah.
I don't think it's that long. We sort of, Jake threw me this idea about starting a band up as we were both sort of between things, and I haven't really been in a band for a good sort of few years, and we put some ideas across, and it worked. And it went well. It's been fun, and it's been exciting to see how it's sort of gone so far.
I'll be really honest with you, mate. That's thoroughly disappointing because I've just basically spent the last 10 minutes making a narrative that you don't like me and that I annoy you. So
it's all lies.
He's actually my lover. We're actually in a relationship together. Right, I'm going to go now, mate, because I've got this podcast to do. I'll ring you after, yeah?
Yeah, no worries.
All right, mate. Love you, babes. Bye.
See you later.
All right. Well, that didn't go
that was a monumentous moment for this podcast. Nothing like that has ever happened and probably never will.
Mate, I could ring the rest of the band for you. The likelihood is that I'd just further embarrass myself.
I'll agree and say that.
Yeah, no, I think we're okay. That didn't go well, did it? I literally spent the last. That's just him being professional right now. He's going to text me in a minute, fuming.
I'll get a text bastard.
He'll be like, "Don't ever fucking ring me on one of these things again. I'm the drummer. Fuck you." No, yeah, he just nailed it there. Like we literally didn't know each other, and then some ideas got floated about, and now it's this. It's weird, mate. The whole thing's weird. I mean, what day is it today? It's a Thursday evening, and I'm sat in my living room drinking gin and tonic, talking on a podcast. Like, who thought that was going to happen? You know what I mean?
Well, that's the absolute joy of stuff like this. To be honest,
rock and roll. It's rock and roll, mate.
Yeah, tell me about it. I mean, I wouldn't expect that. I mean, to be fair, we only planned this like 2 days ago. So you're like, oh shit. We can't do a live thing. Can we quickly plan this out? And I was like, yeah, I think I can. I mean, I will say I have no notes.
You nailed it though. You fucking no notes. You've sat here knowing more about our band than I do, so you must have notes. Or you must know. You must have a really good memory. Basically, what you've done there is you've let yourself go there. You should have just made out that you've done loads of research and loads of work up to it. Because I'd have believed you.
I'm just going to cut all this out. It's fine. No one has to know.
All of this will be deleted, and you'll just go back to me basically blowing my nose 20 times. That's just it.
I mean, if that's what people want for an hour, then they'll get it.
I feel like if people have made it this far into this podcast, they deserve it. You know what I mean? Like, if they've actually listened for this long to my dulcet Midlands tones, they deserve a treat. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, if people are here, then they deserve at least 10 minutes to close it out of you just sniffling and blowing your nose. I think they would want that.
Manage. I can I can live up. I can live up to.
That's what it's all about. It's what it's all about. But I've still actually got some points that I haven't ticked off yet.
Oh, well, let's do that. Should we go back to your agenda?
The other thing was like, all of this is going so well. You're clearly having a great time. Even your mate is saying like, oh yeah, no, we threw some ideas around and it's actually going really well. Have you actually had any challenges or difficulties come from it, even in sort of this small space of being a band?
There's one that comes to mind, yeah. One. Literally just one. I'm gonna make myself sound a dick now as well. We don't argue, we just don't. We're all old as shit and bigger problems and all that. We did the video shoot for Leap of Faith.
I was gonna say, because you were telling me about that. How did that go?
Oh mate, so well. Yeah, the video, we're so happy with it, and yeah, super good. It was part of the when we filmed like the performance stuff. We filmed ourselves. The other stuff was filmed by a super talented guy. I'll go more into that another time. But when we were filming the performance stuff, I'm the worst person when things don't go right. Like I just panic. I'm such an organization freak. I like routine. I'm very vanilla. I like things to be how they are, and that's that. And we had like a couple of hiccups, like expected hiccups, you know, things that just, it never was going to go right that first time. And I had a right tantrum, proper frontman singer moment. Probably the only time I've ever been able to actually call myself a frontman was when I basically had a bitch fit and threw my toys out the pram. And Cav, the drummer, the guy we just spoke to on the phone, was very much like, unfortunately, at the forefront of my little rant. And fortunately for me, Cav is a super understanding dude and just was like, okay. And then I very quickly realized how much of a dick I was being and basically just had to apologize profusely, which I have done. That's probably the only time I think as a band we've had like a little, I don't even want to call it a tiff, but like I've been a drama queen. Other than that, honestly, it's just been fucking awesome. Like, there's no other way to describe it. The guys are all awesome. We all get on like a house on fire. We are just constantly taking the piss out of each other. We enjoy playing the music we play. We enjoy hanging out together. We don't just meet up as a band, which I think is really important as well. We're not just meeting up once a week or once every other week in a practice room, playing some songs and then leaving. Like, you know, we go for beers. Like, we meet up when we're not practicing and do stuff. We're constantly sort of, I guess, involved in each other's lives, and I think that in itself is awesome. And we all know each other, other than like maybe James, who's fairly new to the band, who like really new, like a couple of weeks really in the band, who is sort of still getting that sort of vibe. But like even like the wives and the fucking kids and stuff, like we're all very much like involved, and we want to keep it that way. That's the big thing that I think has worked for us really well. Like we're not just four guys that pretend there's no other life outside of the band and just meet up to do the band. Like we are who we are, and the band is sort of a nice little side note that we have going on from it. But yeah, so other than me having a little bitch fit at the music video shoot, which, just to be clear, it wasn't like that my nail had broke or anything. Like it was the camera wasn't working, I think, or something pathetic like that.
I was going to say it was probably a technical thing that you just
couldn't. Yeah. It wasn't that, like, for example, I left my label. I bought a new shirt for the music video. I left the label in it the whole time, and it's like a mesh shirt, so you could see through it. And right at the end of the video shoot, literally, like, as it finished, James went, "Oh, mate, labels are your shirt." And it wasn't then. It should have been, because I remember feeling, I was like, fuck's sake. Luckily, the label's in the back, so, like, you didn't see it throughout the whole shoot. But, like, imagine spending all that money and all that time doing a music video to then find out it's a big old fucking label hanging out the back of your shirt.
I mean, at least people would know that it's a new shirt. That's the one. That it would be it'd be the most blatantly newly bought shirt anyone had ever seen for a video.
Yeah.
Like, you do your own costume work.
The thing with it is that, like, I think one of the boys made a joke about, like, are you that much of a cheapskate? You're going to try and send this back once you've worn it? You've left the label in. It's like, no, I just forgot. I didn't know it was there. Like,
just
like,
for the shoot.
Yeah, literally, I bought it and then fucking, I can't afford this. I'm sending it back. No, not at all. We're just, we're just honestly, like, if there's one thing people are going to take away from this, I would like to think is that we just are four of the most fucking idiotic people that we have a laugh. Like, that's all we want to do is have a laugh. And like our shows, especially, like, moving forward, we've got a lot of shows booked and some really good ones that we're so excited to announce and do. We want people to come along, not just because they like the music and because they want to hear it, but just like, come and have a beer. Like, we're not going to be that dickhead band that are just like, oh, we're in the band, so we're going to fucking not speak to, no, like come and have a beer. Like let's and even if you don't drink and stuff, that's cool. Like just come and hang out, like come and say hello, come meet us, come have a chat. If you're a supporter of this in any way, shape, or form, and you've helped us get to where we are, then we owe you more than you owe us. Like let's have a chat, let's fucking hang out, let's just have some fun and just like we're just four idiots that feel very lucky to be doing what we're doing, basically.
I mean, that's what it's all about, to be honest, isn't it? It's awfully humble to say that. I think a lot of I know a lot of bands say that, oh, we're very lucky to be where we are, but I think just from your tone, I can tell
this shouldn't be happening. This just shouldn't be happening.
This shouldn't be going on.
No, but like just nothing should be happening for this band that is happening, and we don't like. There's no manager, there's no label, there's no booking agent, there's no we use a distribution company that are online to distribute our music. We do it ourselves. We haven't yet we will have a producer and a recording studio for the next one, but for this one we haven't. We may get management in the future, we may go on to booking agent in the future, but we've just deliberately at the moment just gone, no, this isn't what this band was supposed to be. We're not trying to be fucking AC/DC and go and do the world. We're trying to be a band that are about four mates that are having some fun and doing it, and we'll see how far we can get doing that. And if it ever comes to a point where we can't physically facilitate what is needed, then we might get other people involved. But we're just a bunch of dickheads that love having a beer, love having a bit of a giggle, and we want other people to come and have a beer and a giggle with us, basically, is where that comes from.
And ironically, you're described as enemies.
I mean, who'd have thought it? You know what I mean?
I mean, honestly, you could finalize it there, but I think as a final point, you've talked about all these gigs coming up, the second album, the one that's not even out yet. What would you say is the next turning point for Described as Enemies, or DAE, for all your merch? Okay,
so fuck it, let's drop an exclusive.
Oh my god,
let's do it. It ain't announced yet, and we've announced it when we announce it.
Well, whoever gets right to the end of this will get the sneak peek.
Well, that's the way I'm looking at this. I feel like if anyone's listened to me fucking drone on for the last however long, then they deserve this. And I'm hoping the rest of the band won't even listen for this long, because if they do, I'm going to be in all sorts of trouble. So our EP is coming out in April. It's called Heaven's Gates. It is, like I say, a story of sort of rehabilitation, learning from your mistakes, growing from them, coming back from them. It is very much about my life, but also a bit of a concept. We've made Heaven's Gates is a concept of a rehabilitation centre, and you'll hear that in every song with the voice. It's a very big deal for us, especially. It might not be anything to anybody else, but for us, it's a fucking big deal. And yeah, it's called Heaven's Gates. It's going to come out in April. There is a launch show for that, which is going to be so good. It's nice. Like, we genuinely can't believe we've managed to get the venue we've managed to get, all the bands we've got playing. It's going to be sick. We more than likely, from what we know of the venue and the bands we've got playing, it will more than likely sell out quite quickly, which is awesome. To even be able to say that for that is insane. And then, there may or may not be something following Heaven's Gates. Who knows? But for now, Heaven's Gates is coming out in April, and we cannot wait for it to land and to tour it. Basically.
Am I the first person to hear about this?
Yeah, I mean, you're actually before half the band now. This, but now I'm joking. The band though, yeah. You are literally you're the only person who knows that in April.
Wow.
There you go.
I've made something of this.
There you go.
A man I only met today has come back and said, look at this thing that's coming out in April that nobody knows about.
Look, if I hadn't have had 3 gin and tonics, this wouldn't have happened. So I feel like what's basically going to happen here is this podcast will come out and I'm going to get roasted by the rest of the boys in the band. But you'll be happy. So that's,
I'll be fine. Well, I will say you've got about 8 days to prepare until this comes out. So
perfect.
Just build your muscle, build it up. When it comes out, they'll listen to the end and go, you twats, why did you do that?
I'll just one-way plane ticket. I'll just disappear somewhere. That's
probably safer. For a week, yeah.
James is a fucking unit. He'll kill me. Like Loz, I'm not that scared of Loz. I'm not that scared of Cav. James, however,
forget the index finger. It's the pinky.
Ooh, the boy's a big boy. Yeah.
Tell you off.
That's it. This has been fun.
Thank you very much. No, it's been brilliant. I think, considering we planned this very, very quickly, it's come out pretty well. I've had a giggle and I've made no notes.
That's what we aim for. We hope people have a giggle, but actually don't know what they've left with. That's exactly what we're trying to do.
That's the perfect encapsulation of what this is. You go to a Described as Enemies concert, you go, I have no idea what's going on, but I'm having a good time.
You've nailed it. That's our new bio. I'm changing it on everything now. You've done it. I'm going to tag you as well, like you said. That's it. It's done.
Please do. I'm always here to help. You know that. Well, thank you very much. Obviously, new EP comes out in April. We now know that here first. Jake, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you for having me. Really appreciate it. Thanks for your time. Love what you do. And
thank you. And if I'm ever back in Kent, which I undoubtedly will be because my family live there,
I reckon you're going to have to be back for a certain show for a certain EP release. I think we're going to have to make it happen.
Yeah, tell me about it. If it's going on,
we'll make it happen. We'll make it happen.
We'll see what happens.
We'll make it happen between us. It's for sure, dude. Thank you so much. Enjoy
and you, mate. Cheers.
Thanks, man. See you later.